Good day. It's Thursday, September the 30th. I'm Martin Gagel with Market Radius Research. We've got CEO Scott Burton of FansUnite joining us today. Again, they were on the call a few months ago. FansUnite has developed a global online legal and regulated sports betting and casino gambling platform. I've got FansUnite back on the call today for a bunch of reasons. In the iGaming and online gambling and so forth market has been very busy, both in Canada, the US, and internationally. Since our call, Fans raised almost $25 million in the equity markets. In Canada, C218 passed Senate and received royal assent. And in the industry side, Score Media was, as I'm sure everyone knows, was acquired. As well, DraftKings acquired Golden Nugget, their online gambling site. And as well, there's lots going on, rumors of DraftKings making a $20 billion offer for Entain, and we'll discuss what that means. Lots of people talking about this as the end of the prohibition on gaming and what that's all going to entail in the transactions and the opportunity that's created. Companies are looking for technology, they're looking for content, and they're looking for customers. And we're going to see how FansUnite fits into that mix of this very dynamic and rapidly growing market. So, Scott, thank you very much for taking the time with us today, and let's go a brief overview on the deck. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for having us back, Martin. I'll run through the slides. Apologies for those who were on last time, but I'll go through fairly quick so we can jump to all of those things you just talked about, because there's lots going on. So for people who don't know us, we are a global gaming company, and we're in the sports betting space, esports betting, and online casino. Huge market globally. We also know it's huge in the US and growing fast. Probably the fastest growing market right now is the US with the legalization of sports betting. So there's a ton of tailwind behind this space. So we've got plenty of runway ahead in terms of major growth and catalysts. So we think we're at a good inflection point, partly the time with where the industry's going, but also because we have these different arms of the business. And when you talk about what you just mentioned about, people are looking for technology, they're looking for content, they're looking for users. We do touch all those. We have good revenue generation, and it's growing significantly since last year. More than doubled last year's revenue, which was a double of the previous year. And then again, lots of catalysts for us, which comes from each part of our business. So the direct to consumer, the business to business technology side, and then from the revenue standpoint and licensing. So the structure of the business now is FansUnite is really the parent company of a number of brands and operations. So underneath that, there's a FansUnite free-to-play social brand. Ascot Entertainment was the company that was building technology and having licenses primarily for esports betting initially, and then has its games division building the casino games. So FansUnite and Ascot Entertainment merged last August, so August of 2020. And then McBookie.com is our sort of flagship direct-to-consumer brand. It's focused on the Scottish market, so it operates under a UK white label and services that market. Then below we have a few of the other brands. So in a couple of slides, we'll dive into each one of these in more detail. So going back to when the merge was completed, that was a really big milestone for FansUnite when Ascot Entertainment and Fans merged last August. Just prior to that, FansUnite went public in March of 2020 and completed the McBookie acquisition at that time. So a couple of major acquisitions or merges in the past year, or just over a year with McBookie. We've done a number of things since then, more so down at the bottom since we last talked. So we have made entry into the US with a partnership with Gameco, so tapping into the US space. McBookie is a 10-year-old business. We've set record revenue months multiple times, record profit. We've upgraded a few times in the US from the pink sheets to the QB to the QX. Adding gaming licenses. So we're really a global company in terms of where we can operate. And a key to that was adding in December a license from the Malta Gaming Authority, which allows us to enter Europe as either a direct-to-consumer operator, so a B2C brand or brands, as well as provide technology to other licensed operators in Europe. We did a financing in January of 2021 of 13.4 million. And then we signed our first B2B deal. So using our Malta license, we now have our first deal signed to take a white label live. So Moneyline Sports will be a sports booking casino that will operate under our Malta license, but also use our technology there. So that was the first B2B deal we've announced in Malta. And then we did another financing. So, to date this year, since the merge, we've raised over 43 million Canadian. The most recent financing was almost 25 million. And then a big milestone for us was our UKGC licenses. So the UK has been long considered the gold standard of gaming licenses. So we received ours a couple of months ago, and that is again for B2B and B2C. So it allows us to run brands ourselves, such as a McBookie, but also then provide software to other UK licensed operators, which is a massive market, very mature. So it's a good one for us to get into. So to touch on the actual products we have, first on the B2B side, we'll then go B2C, but Chameleon is really the backbone of the entire business, and that is our gaming platform. So it consists of what people would call a player account management system. So that allows us to do all of the age, identity, location verification systems, risk management, player controls, trading management. So all of that is built into the platform, as well as all of the payment options you could look for, and then all the feeds and the odds. So we have casino built in, sports betting, and then where we really got started was on esports betting. So I think in terms of a complete platform, having all three, we're really one of the only ones that is that robust for the traditional sports and esports. So this would power our own brands, and then we are licensing this to partners. The revenue model on this is we get an upfront integration fee. So to bring a partner on board, we'll get paid for that work. Then we get a guaranteed monthly license fee. So every month we'll get a fee to provide the platform. And then we have unlimited upside potential. So we get a revenue share. So as those sites grow, we take a percentage of the revenue.
And sorry, Scott, just the Chameleon brand name, that's essentially because it can kind of look and feel like anything that for the client's needs. That's the kind of concept behind it, right?
Yeah, very good. That's what we were going for. So it can be really customized, the front end. So a lot of the existing B2B platforms by other providers, the white labels, you can tell who the provider is because they all look the same. They'll have a different branding, but it'll essentially look the same. So we have that sort of cookie cutter approach that's available, but then we also allow partners to really customize the front end for their own look and feel. But what it can also do is it can fit within their existing products. So really how we got started was with esports, and we could go to an existing sports book and seamlessly integrate esports betting into their sports book. So the user doesn't know they're on a different product or somebody else is providing it. We integrate with the same wallet, the same player management systems, the same bonus systems. So we can be a standalone product, or we can integrate into someone's existing product.
All right.
Yeah. And then the next piece is Ascot Games, which is came out of our experience in the esports world and what we knew of sports books and really monetizing players. Every sports book really wants to get people to play in their casino as well. So these are random number generated games. We have a certified random number generator that powers all of these games. They're really with an esports or video game look and feel. So we found when we were acquiring users in the 18 to 30-year-old demographic via esports betting, we weren't really converting them over to casino players. And we think the big reason is because the existing casino products just don't appeal to them. So we're building these games specifically for that market, getting great reception. We've recently added a new VP of gaming and a new casino game manager to the team to help lead this side of the business. So our goal this year was to have 10 games completed, which really makes us a publisher that people will pay attention to, and we can start doing large integrations into other sites. So we're on our 7th game now, and we have a clear roadmap to getting to 10. And we're aggressively looking to sign deals now that we've approached the 7th game. So that's a good part of the business that we think is going to have lots of growth in the coming months.
Or just for clarification there, Scott, those are names that are gambling names, like essentially like roulette. There's a random number generator, but there's a different story or context behind it. So you still bet. It's still a luck-based game, but you get whatever. There's money heist. You're spinning the wheel, the number on the combination lock or whatever it is.
Yeah, exactly. Effectively, roulette or blackjack or poker, they're all behind the scenes. They're all just powered by a random number generator, and then you put a different, look and feel front end on it. So we have one that very much, I'd say, looks like a Grand Theft Auto game where you're breaking into a bank vault. You pay to get in. Basically, that's your stake. The longer you stay in the bank vault, the more your bank balance is rising. But if the police show up before you get out, you lose your money. So really, you're basically stopping the spinning wheel whenever you feel like you've made enough money. But so you can you see a multiplier going up. So games like that.
All right.
Whereas, pure chance games. We do have a set standard return to player, which is visible. It's provably fair. It's audited. And that return to player percentage is dictated typically by the jurisdiction you're in or the partner you're working with.
All right.
The good things about them for us is they just run 24/7. So when you're in sports betting or esports betting, you're reliant on events happening. Casino games, you're not. They're open all day and night, and you know what you're going to make on them over time. So jumping over to the other arm of the business is where we'll go direct to consumer. And we again use our platform as the backbone for our sites. We can launch them quickly. We can go into multiple jurisdictions because of our licensing. They localize very quickly. So that's been a big key for us, is the ability to localize sites and brands to the market they're in, not just for language, but for payment methods and marketing channels. So the two main ones we have currently is McBookie, which I mentioned. So McBookie was an acquisition FansUnite completed. It's under a UK white label currently, so operating on another platform. But the reason we went to get our UK license was really so we could bring McBookie under our own licensing. So we're in the process of doing that now that we've got our licenses in the UK. It's a well-known brand, but really focuses on a niche. So everyone, would say the UK, how do you go in there? It's highly competitive. It's, very mature. The biggest names are there. So we really carved out, or McBookie has done a good job of carving out their brand. It's really a Scottish-focused sportsbook. Well over 10,000 active members now. Again, well over 135,000 or 35 million betting volume over the last few years. Been picking up steadily. We doubled their revenue last year. We'll more than double it this year. And then we think once we move it to our product and license, we'll be able to generate a lot more revenue from them. So
when you're right now using someone else's license on it, what benefits does it by putting it under your own license? I presume you don't have to pay the licensing fee to those guys, so it's sort of a cost savings, but does it let you do more or different things? And you referred to revenue you could grow your revenues better. How does it help do that?
Yeah, so there's a few things. So yes, we do pay for using someone else's license and software, and it's typically a revenue share model with a platform fee. So that will go away. So that percentage of revenue share that's given up currently would stay within the group. And then we found the platform they're on currently is quite limiting in terms of their ability to really heavily market and control what's on there. So they're just one customer of a few for the platform, where when it's us behind the scenes, they're going to get a lot more attention, and we can really customize the marketing side of it for them, the bonusing programs, the player retention programs, all things we don't really have control over currently. So we're finding that the marketing spend isn't maximized when you don't have control of every part of the platform.
So you're not just using the white label license, you're also using their technology platform. It's sort of linked.
Yeah, and that's and that was just because McBookie was an acquisition, as I said. So so we acquired them that way. We've maintained what they're doing now, and then we set on the process of getting our own UK license. So it's one of the things we can do. Taking a brand like McBookie, where they just couldn't go get their own licensing and things before because they didn't have the infrastructure in place. So you need, local directors, you need money laundering officers, physical servers on the ground, all of those things. And for a small team, that's hard to do. But we can leverage that. So we have that team to cover all those roles, for Europe, UK. So we like things like that, where we can find a good brand that's got a name recognized and is doing well, but could really benefit from being part of a larger group that has the technology, has the licenses, and can manage all the key functions.
What is the rough timeline until you get it fully converted over onto your license and your technology platform?
Yeah, roughly. Because we've got a few other things that we're working on ahead of it. It's in parallel, but we're looking at probably, the beginning of the year is when I think we're going to do it. So partly when you do acquire or when a company signs up for a white label partnership, the contracts tend to be long. So ours are typically 24 to 36 months. So there's a period of time we need to get through with them on their current platform. Based on the contract that was signed prior to acquiring them. But that's our aim, is early in the new year.
Okay, so that's a Q1, call it 2022 event.
Yeah.
All right. And what's all involved? Is there a lot of risk sort of transitioning the technology, or is it really you're just transferring the client accounts over and then boom, they the next day they log in and the site looks different and you're off to the races?
That's essentially how it should happen. Yeah, right. There's no issues with that. That's the idea. And we have done this before. So we have moved either people onto our platform or we've moved ourselves to different things. So we have the experience of doing it. And what I will say is, because the next site I'll jump to, Vamos is on our platform. We'll have Moneyline on our platform. So we'll know, the platform stands up. It's been tested in Malta. It's been gone through UK. We're going through another certification process. So I would say technology risk is very minimal. It'll really just be, there'll be some, maybe a few headaches of users learning the new look and feel and how do I, where do I go to do this? So we'll have, obviously support ready to go for those things, but technology risk is very low.
Right, thanks.
Yeah. And so this is a brand that we have recently put out under our own license, on our own platform, and really showcase our localization ability and our speed to market. We looked at where we thought we could be, competitive on a direct-to-consumer. So we don't intend to operate direct-to-consumer sites in every market. We want to find ones that are, possibly underserved, or we think we have an angle in there. And Brazil was one. So it's a very large population, but a very big esports fan base, especially around Counter-Strike, which is a game we've covered for 4 or 5 years. And we thought by putting in an esports first brand, highly localized to the market, partnerships on the marketing front on the ground in Brazil, payment methods specific to Brazil. We thought we had a good angle there. So we launched Vamos as an esports first brand. It does have casino and we're bringing in traditional sports, but the main marketing channels and partnerships are all around esports. So that's up and running now, just really getting going. We announced a major partnership with the next major Counter-Strike tournament that's going to happen in October, November in Stockholm. So the PGL Counter-Strike Major, we are the official Brazilian broadcast stream partner. So we're looking for a really good kickoff of that event in the coming weeks and see some significant traffic to that site.
So what you're doing is you're the broadcaster for that, call it, the streamer for it. And then that obviously, hey, you're watching it and here, click this button and you can make some bets and all that. So it's pretty tightly integrated.
Yeah, so we're actually, we partnered with the official broadcasters. So
Okay.
there's the most probably well-known personality in Brazilian esports and Counter-Strike is a streamer called Gaules. And he has Gaules TV. And so we partnered with Gaules and Gaules TV to bring the Brazilian stream, the official language stream, to the Brazilian market. So they will be handling they're better at it. So they're handling the broadcasting and everything, but we'll be the official partner of that. So our brand, Vamos GG, will be everywhere. We'll be providing on-screen odds and predictions, and then driving users through rewards and bonuses to come onto the site.
Cool.
Yeah. So yeah, I'll just jump through the team. I mean, so myself, I started back in 2013 in online sports betting with an Isle of Man license, moved over to esports in 2014, started building the technology that we have today, which became Ascot. I merged in Ascot to FansUnite with Darius, who is the founder of Fans. So he and I have known each other 7 or 8 years, both been in the betting space for that amount of time, Vancouver based. So they were really looking for the technology piece, the licensing. We were looking to bring more traditional sports into the platform. And then we were on a path to going public ourselves. So we decided to bring the companies together. Our CTO is my original founding partner of Ascot, who's been with us since the beginning. So going back to 2013. The board I think really stands out for again, what we were and what we are was a Canadian small cap publicly traded company. We really wanted to bring some strength to the group with experience and contacts that we thought we needed. So we were pretty particular about who we went after and what we were looking for. So we added Harish, who is the former president of Paddy Power Bet for Asia. That's now the Flutter Group, which is the largest gaming group out there. Asia is a huge market, especially around esports. M&A was going to be a big part of what we do. And so Harish brings all of that to us. Chris Grove, I think is, one of the most highly respected voices in gaming in the United States. He's had some successful exits of his own on the affiliate side, so the customer acquisition and player acquisition side of the business. He's the chief investment officer of a couple of gaming SPACs in the US, and also a partner at Eilers & Krejcik, the biggest research firm on gaming. So I don't think there's a group or a deal that Chris doesn't know of and people don't know of him. So as we looked at the growth in the US, we wanted someone in that market, and Chris brings that. And then James Keane has the all-around experience of all those things, but has been around for quite some time. So he's on the founding team of Paradise Poker. So took that in the very early days of poker to being a top 3 global poker company. Saw that through a major exit to GVC, which is the Entain Group, which you mentioned earlier, managing director there of emerging markets. So and then now on the casino side. As we wanted to build out Ascot Games, we wanted someone on the casino game side, and James is currently CEO of a game studio, so brought that to us. So we're very happy with the board we have. Let's go through 2 more quick. Licensing is a huge part of what we do. We look at regulated markets. We want to always operate above board. So we follow all the processes, and I think we've shown that we have the ability to get licenses in the toughest jurisdictions. So, if people look at companies and if licensing risk is one of the things they're worried about, and a company says, well, we're going to go get licenses, we've done it. And we know we can do it again. So, I go back to 2013 when I got our first Isle of Man license. In 2017, we're the first esports betting company to ever get licensed in the Isle of Man. We decided to move to Malta for access to the EU. Isle of Man isn't in the EU, so we went to Malta, the oldest gaming jurisdiction in the EU. Then the UK is considered to set the standards for online gaming, so we have a UK license now. The US, we've made our first entry there, going into Colorado with our partner GameCo, who has a number of US licenses, and then we'll look at a state by state if we go into any more. And then Canada, you mentioned 218. That's one sort of catalyst in Canada, but also a big one for us is Ontario looking to open up to outside operators this year. So previously, Canada has been, closed shop to outside operators unless you're operating illegally offshore. You had to be part of the government, so a provincial lottery group typically. That's looking to change in Ontario, obviously our largest province in Canada. So we're excited about that and hopeful that other provinces will follow along.
With the Canadian market, we've got that slide up right, or you have that. Yeah, if you could go slip back to that, it's probably a good time to maybe dig into that a bit. Like the federal law has said, okay, you can do single sports betting, but it's still up to the provinces to enact the specific legislation, how, what, when, where, and all of that, correct?
Yeah, and most were ready. So I know like BCLC now, which operates Play Now in BC, you can do it. So BC's added it. I believe in Ontario it's been added, and possibly the Atlantic. So, but yeah, it was up to the provinces to then make the decision, and I think it's obvious that they all will if they haven't already. But you can do it in a few provinces now.
And what is your pathway to launching in Ontario? That's the biggest market, and then presumably, if the economics make sense in some of the other markets, what does that rollout or pathway look like?
Yeah, so they put out the framework in the application process, I think about 2 weeks ago. So we've been involved, from the early days of looking at it, providing feedback as the AGCO, the Alcohol Gaming Commission of Ontario, has taken over that process from the OLG. So it's a pretty straightforward process, especially for groups like us who have been through the UK, been through Malta, because they really look to jurisdictions like that are well established and are considered tier 1 for guidance. So it's very similar to what we've been through. We do understand that if you have good history in markets like that, there will probably be a bit of a lighter touch approach on getting you through the process. If you've never been licensed before, or you've operated in offshore jurisdictions that aren't recognized, then the process will take a bit longer. Often in the jurisdictions, the due diligence is very much focused on shareholders and ultimate beneficial owners. We know we've been through that a few times, but also we're publicly traded now. So that tends to help a bit if you're a publicly traded entity. You're on a regulated exchange, that helps. So we think our process would be fairly quick in Ontario, which is hoping to get people through by the end of the year. We're just filling out the applications now. In terms of going to market, we're still not completely clear on the taxation side of it and what the revenue share model will be in Ontario. That hasn't been completely finalized as far as we know. So we're waiting to see that again, because it comes down to the economics of it and how that looks. We know the licensing fee is a fairly substantial fee, but it's not, wouldn't scare us away. It's more of an understanding than how the revenue share model is gonna look. A big thing for us is how are groups who come in who want to get licensed in Ontario, who are already taking bets in Canada, I guess not licensed, how will they be treated? Because we've always stayed outside of Canada to do things properly and wait for this opportunity, where not every operator has done that. So there's a few questions to be answered there for us. But we can go in either way. We can go in as a technology provider with a partner, or we could choose to launch a brand. And as far as we understand, that should be licensable by the end of this year in Ontario. And then we're unsure as what the other provinces are going to do yet.
And would your order of preferences for the other provinces just basically be on size of the people and the economy? Like so Quebec number 2, BC, Alberta, sort of that kind of flow, or?
Yeah, I think for us, we'd love, I think BC would be great. BC's done, we know playing out as pretty well. We know there's a decent gambling market here in BC, so that would be a good one. Alberta, exactly. And then the Atlantics are grouped together. The ALC manages a few of the Atlantic provinces. So, ideally it would be great for us on size, but we're just happy to see any more provincial activity on allowing outside operators to open up the market, give consumer choice, and honestly, we think just get better products and which will increase tax revenue. So the way it is now, still so much of the money that's being bet in Canada is not being bet on provincially regulated sites. The products aren't competitive. They're getting better now that the 218 got passed, but we know, I think Ontario will really show that the governments and regulators should regulate and let operators operate and tax it properly and regulate it properly, and I think overall they'll see the market grow.
Do you think that with the legal alternative that the regulators will somehow try to clamp down on the illegal offshore ones? I don't know, you can always get by with a VPN and so forth, but are like just through bank account restrictions or something?
Yeah, so it's already, part of it's been done. So I think you'll find if you're a Canadian and you do try and use an offshore site with a credit card from a Canadian bank, you're probably not going to get your deposit through. So online gaming has a merchant code, and provided the operators giving the right merchant codes, you're probably going to get blocked. So there's been some of that done. They haven't gone, I'd say, nearly far enough in terms of blocking IP addresses and doing more. So we're hopeful that as they start to open up, they'll see that there needs to be more enforcement and education if they're going to have a successfully regulated market. So one, if taxation's way too high, you're not going to entice any of these operators to come into the country. They'll just remain doing what they're doing. Or if you just have zero enforcement, which has really been the case historically here, it makes it a tougher sell to come into Canada under the proper laws and regulations if that's not being done. So we expect to see some of that. We're hopeful it happens, but then you still have the difference between, federal and provincial. So, I don't think, say Ontario will say to an operator, well, if you come into Ontario, we expect that you're going to respect the Canadian criminal code in terms of betting and, taking bets from Canadians. But I don't think Ontario will go out to enforce that for BC. So you might have operators who will say that they're happy to do that, legalize or license in Ontario, but remain taking bets from BC when they shouldn't be.
All right. And I guess that would be easier to bypass as well. You just with credit cards and that it's a little harder to differentiate between if I'm like betting in Ontario, but I happen to be on vacation in Halifax or whatever. I don't know. It's like, oh.
Yeah. Yeah, and so so our technology has the geofencing built in and capability that's required to, block people down to a provincial or a state level. So we can lock a site down to a provincial or state borders, so that if you're not within that area, obviously there are VPNs. So, but to set up an account, it's much harder to do because you need to prove that you have an address that matches the province you say you're in with bank accounts, and that we can verify that. So we use third-party verification systems to see if there is a person in that province with that name and that address and that banking details. And if we're not sure, then we can ask for upload of documentation. So we have the ability for people to take a picture of a driver's license, a passport, and then a utility bill or something. So we can dive deeper if we think there's an issue. We can also do that on volume. So we monitor player activity very closely, and if that all of a sudden something looks odd, so if they're a user who deposits $100 a month every month, and then they deposit 20,000, they will get triggered into a new risk category for us. Their account will be locked from withdrawal. We'll ask for more information.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. So yeah, the last slide here is just after the financing. So kind of where we sit now, and really the highlight for us was the 24, just under 25 million financing that we did. Really sets us up in a very good position cash wise. You know, we have no debts, revenues rising, so we've been maintaining a cash balance of around that for some time. And really, it was to position ourselves to get active in some M&A activities. So we're looking, very closely in a number of areas right now, and would like to see something get to completion soon on that front.
Well, since you brought up the M&A side of it and the use of proceeds, are you looking for clients? Are you looking for any tech pieces? Are you looking for sort of geographies, or what would be ideally sort of fit into the FansUnite kind of platform?
Yeah, we kind of have a few buckets because of the way our business is set up is kind of the same. So we have our, the B2B technology piece, we have the B2C side, and then the game side. And then geography comes into it as well. So it depends on where we see it fitting within the business, or where it's located geographically. So on the technology B2B side, we are looking for things that we think complement the platform. Whether that's a unique in-play product, or an odds-making algorithm product, or a customer retention product, there's things like that would add, I think, to the platform that we'd be interested in. We've been very happy with the way the McBookie thing has worked out. So we find an operator that's in a bit of a niche market, doesn't have the ability to really scale, and whether it's marketing dollars or team or technology. And if we can just bring that to them and sort of let them sort of amplify what they're doing, that's interesting. And then if we look at a place, you can't ignore the North America and US, especially with, you're halfway through the states regulating sports betting. We expect them to get all the way through. So there's these years ahead of massive growth around betting and acquisition. We don't currently see ourselves as a direct to consumer player in the US market. So either technology or on that acquisition front. So if we find channels to acquire the users and get the users in a way, those are interesting. So those are kind of the areas we're looking at right now. I guess it's kind of a bit of a wide net, but we have it narrowed by which piece of the business it might help.
And like they're the huge players, and then you're on the smaller side of things. Like a company like McBookie, I'm guessing that wouldn't be of interest to a DraftKings. That's just way too small. It doesn't they seem to be setting their sights on like sort of elephant hunting, so to speak. Well, you can sort of maybe pick up some of these smaller pieces at the fringe that aren't getting all the attention.
Yeah, so likely right. I mean, but once you combine a few of those, they become interesting. So if you do that, especially on one technology platform, so where I would say we would become interesting for larger groups is because we have the technology piece, and you're seeing, DraftKings acquiring SB Tech previously, Bally's acquiring BetWorks, GAN acquiring CoolBet. Now the Entain type deal. So you're seeing more and more of the platforms that exist being bought up by the larger operators. So really taking them out of the market. So there's a huge tier of small, mid-sized sports books that still need the technology and licensing piece, and they're losing their options. So, and then we also know the bigger operators, as we've seen with McBookie, the advantage to owning your technology in the long term is huge. It's not just a cost savings from sharing revenue and platform fees, but what you can do to differentiate your product from the competitors and really go in, in the marketing front and the bonusing front and control all that. So I think that's where we would be more interesting. And then you look at Ascot Games as it stands alone, that highly engaging or appealing casino game to the 18 to 30-year-old demographic, that's another piece that people are looking at. And again, when you look at the Entain acquisition potential, a lot of what they talk about there, which we kind of cover, is the iGaming piece. So that's a piece that they don't have. And so that it not only brings potential iGaming piece into that acquisition, but then the global piece. So it takes them away from being just a US company into the global gaming market and the iGaming market, which, we are kind of I know we're small, but we are global now. We have the iGaming piece, we have the technology, and then, the revenue to go along with it. So,
do you have any thoughts or any perspectives you can give on the Score Media acquisition? Is it sort of just thematically the same? It's consolidation. People wanted access to the Canadian, their Canadian user base, and just any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, the first thought I had was what you said there, is it's really trying to get into that Canadian user base, and with the hope or expectation that, other provinces are going to follow suit with Ontario and getting there. They did talk a lot about the future technology capability. So I think, what we've said before is, I've always felt we were farther ahead on a technology side than the Score was, because they were using the Betworks platform, which got acquired by Bally's. So I think that was could have been the catalyst for them to start, down the technology path. And in that acquisition, technology was mentioned, but it's not there yet. So the technology piece is something they're probably going to build out more. But initially, I think it was an acquisition of users, as you saw them do with Barstool. It's the same group that bought Barstool, and that was, for the users. So it's buying a media group, and that's I think the main thing that came from that. And then the belief or the expectation that they can now build out technology of their own with that, which, again, I feel like we're farther ahead on that front.
Yeah, and the bigger players do not want to be dependent upon a competitor's technology platform. Once you get to a size, I would think they all want to be like steering their own ship on that.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what I think. I think with all this growth and fighting for users in the U.S., I think we're heading into we're already in it, I guess, but quite a period of time of consolidation of a lot of the players. We saw Entain before this buy one of our early competitors in the esports space, Unicorn. So that was a standalone esports betting site that Entain acquired in. And again, we consider ourselves one of the pioneers in the esports betting space, so we have that piece as well. But people are looking more and more at esports as part of the future, what they're going to need in their product mix. Fewer and fewer people are watching Major League Baseball, NHL. Those viewers are dropping off. I think the NBA may still be seeing some growth, but the rest of the traditional sports typically aren't. And those are the people that you're relying on to bet on your site. So, how are you going to get 18 to 30-year-olds into your site? It needs to be something that they're watching.
Yeah. And the rollout of the regulatory rollout in the US, that's going to kind of continue state by state. It's roughly structured like the Canadian model. It's allowed on the federal level, and then each state has to kind of get their own order and decide how they want to implement that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So it'll be state by state, still some big states to go. You got Texas, you got California, you got some very big states still to come. So, everyone's still very bullish on the US, and, I don't think anyone now doesn't expect every state to eventually go. Smaller states, it'll be a bit more of a challenge, I guess, because, the problem when you do have a state by state or a province by province approach, you don't have the ability to mix users across state lines or across provincial lines. So, a state has to make sense for you as a company. Is it going to be big enough? Are you going to be a big enough player? Is the market big enough? So it affects things, especially it affects liquidity games like poker. Would be a big one. So, if you want to license poker in a number of states, poker is one of those games where you need a lot of people playing, because you need somebody at the $5 table, the $10 table when you show up. Because if you show up to a poker site and no one's there, you're going to go away. So if you can't mix players across state lines, you lose that liquidity pool. So that's a big challenge for the state by state and provincial approach. But if you're a big enough state, the sports betting makes sense, the iGaming or casino makes sense.
All right. Okay, we've got a bunch of questions here, so I'm going to start going through. I don't know if you can pop that up. There's a question here asking about the acquisitions. I think what type of acquisitions you're looking for. I think you addressed that. If there's anything else. When is Moneyline Sportsbook launching? Do you have any insight into how their marketing has been going?
So we're aiming for a launch. It'll be October, November is kind of the launch we're aiming for. I don't have much on their marketing currently. I know they've got some plans around a streaming product they have, and they've got a lot of previous history in marketing casino and some payment partners. So I know they're lining up their marketing, but I don't have anything specific to share on anything they're doing yet.
All right. Ascot Games progress and additional aggregator deals. What is the EAR waiting for? Has Mike Lee helped alter, develop the roadmap for more RNG casino games?
Yeah, Sir Lawson, Mike Lee has been great. So definitely helping on aggregator discussions, because Mike's done many of them before. So he was CEO of Genesis Games, where a lot of what they did was exactly that. So we now have a very good pipeline of those things going on, and that's really what we brought him in for. We needed someone to come in and dedicate to that. The games are progress is good, so we're going through number 7 now. So we said we're aiming for 10. We know exactly what the 10 are going to be, so we're just pushing hard to get through the next 3 by the end of the year, and that's the main thing we've been kind of focused on, is just getting the first 10 done. The year was a smaller aggregator, and they now have games, the first 3 games integrated and are pushed out so they can go live. And then the bigger aggregators, we needed to get close to that number 10, 7, 8, 9, 10 games. So that's where we're at now. And then we're getting them through independent testing as we go with GLI.
All right. And how is your New Jersey application going? Are either One Comply or the IFRA law helping you out with that?
Yeah, we're using both, and it's going, I guess, slower than we would have liked, but it's not a requirement for anything we're doing. So we're in the personal declaration phase. So mostly the key people in the company are getting through that, and we are using One Comply for that, and then it will get passed to IFRA. So One Comply allows us to compile all of our, 15-year travel history, our banking information from forever. So that process is just long on the personal side, but it's going fine. Using One Comply for all that collection. We'll pass that to IFRA law. Then they go through with New Jersey, come back with any issues. But like I said, New Jersey was really for us to go and do a state independently ourselves without GameCo. In the states where we're looking to actually do any B2B, we've either got GameCo coverage or it's not a license requirement as a software provider. It just needs independent testing. So, yep, still in progress. It takes a long time on the personal side.
Yeah, there's another question here on the acquisition strategy, which I think we've largely covered. But one question: should people, investors, expect more smaller acquisitions, or sort of go after one kind of bigger one, or could be anywhere along that spectrum?
Yeah, as I said, we've kind of kept the net fairly wide, like the funnel at the moment. So there is the spectrum. And I think historically we've seen like the McBookie one was significant, the Merge was very significant. So we're definitely not opposed to doing something very large and sort of really material and changing the business. So those are on the radar for sure. And that would be in the sense of, revenue generating, profitable business, and fits nicely. There's some smaller ones that may happen, but they would be earlier stage, maybe technology pieces. So we haven't stuck ourselves to one or the other. We're looking at that range. And it's really which one makes sense, which has a great team. Like, we're really focused on the team when we look at these things. Is it coming with a really good team who can execute we're not looking to save a business or take over from an operating team. We want to expand our team. We're trying to grow as quick as we can on the people front as well. So adding good people is key. So if we find those right pieces, we'll make a move. It may be, I know it doesn't narrowly answer that, but it could be smaller, it could be big.
All right. And I'm just thinking, like your board is very deep in your industry, and especially on the research side, I would think they would be an excellent complement to like filtering out or finding, having a good trap line on deals, and then as well filtering out maybe the okay ones from the exceptional ones.
Yeah, absolutely. Our pipeline has been great, and it's not exclusively from the board, but very high percentage of deals we see is from the board. The nice thing about them is that a lot of them are not deals that are being necessarily shopped around, or we've engaged a banker to go and find. So if we see them, we're either the first or the only. It's not from lack of flow. We have a tremendous deal flow through our board, and also, as you said, like a very good vetting group. So I'm putting opportunities in front of the board, been very helpful. It's probably made us pickier than maybe some other companies that would be in our position trying to do M&A. So, I think we're being very strategic and diving really into the business and their understanding of what it takes. So it's been really helpful, and that was the main part of putting that board together.
We're frighteningly so getting close to the end of the year here. Is there a chance that you may announce an acquisition before year end, or was that likely be more of a 2022 event?
I would say there's a chance because of just the amount we see. So, like I said, we positioned ourselves to be ready to move quickly, and that was why we did the financing. It is a hot space, and we were seeing valuations go up, and so it's not necessarily a buyer's market, but we wanted to be ready to pounce, and that's why we did the financing. We didn't want to have any deal be contingent on a financing. So I think we've got a board and a team that can move quickly if we find something, and then we've got the capital and the share sort of capital available to make a move. So we are rapidly approaching the end of the year, but we are very active in looking at potential opportunities, and I know the team we have could move quick enough if there was something to get done by the end of the year.
All right. Okay. Switching over, there's a neat question from someone here. For your McBookie and your MD&A, you've got to pay licensing fees and all that, which you'll be no longer paying once that gets fully transitioned. What you are currently paying for the McBookie stuff, is that kind of economically equivalent to what you would be charging other people for the white label process, or were you kind of getting a better deal or kind of a legacy, kind of a worse deal based on it?
It's the structure of the deals are the same or similar. So there's a fixed fee portion, there's a revenue share portion. Our deals will depend on if we are providing the gaming license or not. So we can also provide software to someone who's licensed. That would bring us less money than what a McBookie's paying that includes a license. So again, we're similar, definitely in the structure, similar in economics, but very different by market. So you look to the UK it's an expensive market. So it's a very mature market. It's got, a significant infrastructure on licensing. So you're probably going to see more expensive deals like that over there, as opposed to what we might get in Malta or somewhere else. So structure's the same. Economics can be similar depending on region.
All right. On the 7 games at Ascot, I believe those random generator names, someone's asking, where can you play these? Are they at all available for, I don't know, us Canadians, or where we can muck around with those?
No, we have nothing in North America right now. So with Canada, again, nothing's open to us to offer them in Canada. In the US, the first state we're going into is Colorado, which doesn't have online iGaming yet. So the first place that they'll become available right now would be through the EAR platform, as they push them or as operators pick them up from them. And then shortly, we would put them onto our site in Brazil, so they'll be live there. But currently, unfortunately, there's nowhere in North America. I think what we will work on is get update our Ascot Games website, and we'll get demos up there soon. So we'll have those up so people can see.
Okay, all right, that's great. And one final question here. Has 76 Capital continued to be of use in introducing you to potential partners / acquisitions?
Yeah, so we haven't been using them. We used them for a period of 3 months, and we have some ongoing discussions from that period. So hopefully we'll be able to bring 1 or 2 of those discussions that came through the 76 Capital Group to fruition and announce, and we can state that it came from them. Our the partner we were working with there, he actually left to become head of legal counsel, I believe, with Penn. So he was our connection there. So we used them for a few months, have some ongoing things now, and hopefully one of those will be public.
All right. Well, we are basically here an hour. So Scott, thanks for making time. Any final comments or conclusions or any points that we didn't sort of dig into deep enough that you want to highlight?
No, it was great. It was thorough. I think just we come back to, how uniquely positioned we are as a small cap Canadian company to, take advantage of this space, move into bigger regions, and just, I think, a lot of big opportunities ahead of us. So we'll be showing a lot of that coming into the next few months, and very excited about some of these things that we'll be able to announce soon.
Scott, thanks a lot. That was really good. I think thank you, the audience, for putting out so many of what I thought were excellent questions out there. So thanks everyone for taking the time out of your busy days to join us and learn more about FansUnite. Have a great day, everyone, and talk to you again soon.
Thank you.
Cheers.